Welcome to Uncover Your Story, the podcast that empowers you to find your brand story and share it with confidence to increase your impact in the world. I'm your host, Sarah Orton, and I'm a brand photographer, storyteller, and content creator. By drawing on my experience and talking to amazing guests, we'll be uncovering the art of communicating through story. I'm here to help you build your storytelling toolkit with actionable tips, strategies, and insights. Let's dig in. Today, I'm talking to Lisa Long, a behavioural psychologist, business coach, and office strategist who helps midlife women create meaningful businesses they truly love. I loved how she describes her work, saying, I believe your business should run effortlessly alongside your midlife dreams. I'm the architect to help you build it that way. Lisa and I first met in 2023 when I took her photos during a personal brand photography retreat in Spain. Since then, we've stayed connected on Instagram. And Lisa is one of those people whose posts I never scroll past. Her voice cuts through the noise, not just because of what she shares, but how she shares it. I'm so looking forward to this conversation where we'll explore Lisa's brand journey, uncover why storytelling is at the heart of her work, and hear her insight on how to grow your business through the power of story. Lisa, welcome to the show.
Thank you. And what a lovely welcome.
You're most welcome. All right, we start off with our quick fire round. So, creative, change maker, or big-hearted rebel? Which do you most resonate with?
Big-hearted rebel.
What words do you live by?
I live by carpe diem, seize the day, and also what others think of me is none of my business.
Love it. Are you a fan of that film, The Carpe Diem? What was it called? Dead Poet Society.
Yeah, I love it. And
it
was, actually, it was my school motto back in the school days on my blazer. And I didn't even know what it meant back then. So it's really something that's been with me all my life. My dad used it. And so
that's really cool.
I always try to get a day and a half out of every day, as I say.
Yeah.
So
great. If your life was a book, what would the title be?
She Did It Her Way.
And what song gets you on the dance floor?
It's always I Will Survive by Gloria Rayner. It goes right back to when I was dumped when I was 16.
Oh, that used to be my
I just found so much empowerment in that song. Every time I hear it, I'm like, the words are just brilliant. So.
Yeah. Back in the day when I did karaoke, that was my karaoke song.
Brilliant. It's a classic. Yeah. Always be a classic.
Yeah. What's a short story from your work that brings you joy?
Gosh, this one, I have got so many that are so great. And so I just thought I'd pick the most recent one. And that is, a client came to me this week and said, finally, this doesn't feel heavy anymore. And I get that all the time with my clients who are, midlife women who have spent so many years kind of living on other people's terms and then have this great idea that they know is going to work, that works so hard and tirelessly at making it happen that they come to me usually quite burnt out and they don't really know, it's either make or break. And this client this week, it was a real make. And it was like, finally, this is what I'm meant to be doing. It feels light. I love it. And we just transformed everything that she was doing. And those stories for me are exactly why I get up in the morning. And it's so nice. Every client win is just, for me, amazing. It keeps me going as well. So I think for me, that's, I guess, evidence that my business is working in helping other people's business work as well. So
that's
picked that one this week.
Lovely. All right, then. So let's jump straight in with your brand story, whatever that means to you.
So this is because I've done so many different things. I had to have a good think about this one. And I suppose my brand story, I am my brand. And I have literally started way back in my 30s. I'm 47 now. And I built from the ground up a 7-figure business at my kitchen table. And it was a huge success. I learned so many lessons inside of that I have carried through with me through different, I guess, chapters of entrepreneurship since. But I have been the common thread that's kind of followed through in that I have molded myself. And again, going back to my book title, She Did It Her Way. If I feel that something isn't aligned with me and how I want to live my life anymore or my family, and, in terms of showing up for my family, then I do my best to find a solution. I'm a real solution finder. So my brand now, and I've molded myself as I've got older to understand I went back when I was 44 to university to get a master's in psychology to really understand how, at this stage of life, I can still have the ambition, but I can also deal with all the midlife challenges that are going on. And also help women who are in the same sort of chapter, wondering if, if this is it too late? Do we still have the capacity, the drive to be able to, you know, is it too late? Are we on the shelf or can we still do something? And I found that as I developed throughout business and mentoring different women, that we needed a whole other skill set in managing the challenges that come with this chapter of life. So I got my master's in psychology and spent some time in that with women and realized that actually we still all want to be ambitious. We still all want the income, the independence, but we also want the freedom and the capacity and the happiness. So I married my psychology together with my business coaching skills of 20 plus years. And that is my brand now. So that is where it has ended up, having molded over the really, the last, since I was my early 30s. So the last almost 20 years. But it's pivoted as I've needed it to, in a great way. And it's always kind of worked out with, don't get me wrong, many lessons along the way. So
Brilliant. And so if you could you like sum up in like a few sentences, like what would you say is your why? And also then go on to explain, has that why evolved, or is that something that's been sort of like there as a through line throughout your story?
I think my why has always been, gosh, I mean, I go back to when I started working in corporate and I did a graduate program after business studies at university. And I always remember being in a meeting maybe 2 or 3 years down the line thinking, I don't want this why. This is not getting me up in the morning. This is not something that is going to fill me with joy for the rest of my life. I've got to do something different and I want to do something on my terms. And at that time of life, it was, I was really in my late 20s. Nobody was doing that. It was really safe to be in a job. Our parents were always like, go to university, you get your job, and this is what you follow. And so I really broke free from the mold. But I was so determined that my why was to do something on my terms. And I think that has been the thread that's basically I've carried through with me the whole way. And I have done things that have filled my cup up and not others in terms of filling their pockets or and helped others as well. And I just didn't feel that early on in my career. And ever since that day, everything I've done has followed that sort of mantra of helping others, of doing it for me, doing it on my terms, and being in line with the values that I have as a person. So
That's really inspiring. And so my next question was going to be like, looking back over your journey, is there one moment that completely shifted how you saw yourself or your work? So would it be, is that the day that you made that decision, or?
well, so I would say that was the first day that I had that. Well, my first decision I made to go it alone, that gave me the taste for entrepreneurship. But then I would say a big pivotal moment for me was in my early 40s again. And that is very much so for so many women, that I literally woke up one morning and I can remember just looking out the window thinking, okay, my children really don't need me anymore. They were sort of, I mean, they kind of did, but I was really just a glorified taxi driver, feeder, shopper. So I had a lot more spare time and I could see the empty nest coming. And I thought, I do not want to get to that point and think, oh my God, what now? And for me, that was when I decided to go back to university to get my master's, to start a real tangible business, because I'd kind of floated around for many years doing mentorship and coaching, but very much on a one-to-one individual basis through word of mouth. I didn't have a real, I guess, big business. I didn't have to market myself. I just kind of floated around, helping people. But I thought, you know what, I need to do something now that is going to fulfill me for the next potentially 15, 20 years and not be left on the shelf or not, it was future planning and I did it. I was like, I just can't let this happen. Don't get me wrong, I love coffee with friends and that kind of thing, but I just knew that's not going to be something that would light me up for the next 15 to 20 years. So now I can do both.
Brilliant. And if you could share a bit more about that first business that you built that was incredibly successful, to tell us more about that, and also any lessons you have around storytelling, how you use stories in that business. And then to share what it's like to let go of such a successful business.
Yeah. So the first business that I ran was basically by accident. So as I say, I was in the corporate world. It came at a good time because I was on maternity leave, and it was a real sort of thinking point for me as well. My first son arrived early, and it was a bit of a wake up call for me to say, family is, I always just wanted to be a mum. It was such a big part of my being. And I didn't really want to go back to work and put him in childcare and all that stuff. So my husband and I agreed that if I could come up with something, then maybe we could see if I could go part time or do, create my own little thing. But so what happened was I couldn't think of any ideas, but we were having a conservatory built in our house, and I was trying to find some artwork for the wall, and I couldn't find anything anywhere. So being my background was in IT, that was my graduate program. And so I was quite computer literate and all of that stuff. And I had a lot of designer skills as well. So I created a piece of artwork with all of our memories in words, which everybody kind of understands now. But at the time, there was nothing at all like that. There really was nothing. I spent half my time explaining what it was
Yeah.
afterwards.
What year was this then?
This was, oh gosh, 2007.
Mm-hmm.
Um, So yeah, nothing. I mean,
Yeah.
it was like, so basically typographic art, as we call it now. And it,
Yeah.
it was all of our memories, and I put them in the colors that we loved. And I found somebody who could put it on a canvas, and we hung it on our wall. And then every friend that came round to visit the baby was like, oh my goodness, I love that. That's amazing. And suddenly I thought, and they were all asking for one as well. I was
Yeah.
like, oh my goodness, this could be my business. So cut a long story short, I learned how to design quicker. I learned how to build my website. I sourced some suppliers. I went to the library to work out how to do SEO because we didn't have any,
Mm-hmm.
the internet wasn't that great back then either, really. So I'm walking around with the baby in the library, and it got taken on. I got found by Not on the High Street, which, everybody really knows now. But at the
Mm-hmm.
time, they were just launching with some partners too.
Mm-hmm.
So along with my being picked up by, sort of some celebrities on Twitter and some
Mm-hmm.
magazines, I was also then picked up by Not on the High Street. And within the first year, the business had just skyrocketed
Wow.
with me as a mum going, what the hell's happened? Um, but it was crazy. So that really in the first year was seven figures, and
Wow.
it was on TV. I did all the home makeover shows. It was it was amazing. And
Amazing. What was the business called?
it was called More Than Words.
Okay.
And yeah, some people who are still in the industry will know it because I worked with a lot
Yeah.
of wedding photographers, a lot of
Yeah.
photographers, because we did a lot of things in the same space.
Were
But
you
yes, so it still exists, but it's not mine anymore. So
okay? So like this, great. And so coming back to storytelling, then, because obviously that's kind of like telling people stories of their lives is very much core to the business, right? So did you sort of like how did you use that to market, or did you think about it, or did it just come naturally?
it's the very first time round of my business. It was all, when I look back now, there's so many things that I did that just came naturally
Mm-hmm.
that I now teach all my clients to do.
Mm.
So having that story around the business of having the conservatory, and when I was on maternity leave and all of that stuff, that was my core story, and it
Mhm.
gives some real personality.
Mm.
And I didn't realize that I was doing that, but
Yeah.
people found it, interesting. They could relate. Everybody's always looking for a business idea because it's like, I just want my own business. I couldn't find that, but it fell in. I created it, but I was also lucky in the sense that I can show you that these things just happen without too much planning. So in terms of the story, it was a huge, huge part of that brand. And that's what got me all of the media. So very often I was in magazines talking about my story. I got the Amazon's Mumpreneur, which they don't really use these words anymore, Entrepreneur of the Year. Um, and again, all because of the story that I told at the beginning. So I
Yeah.
think it's very different if somebody just comes along and sets up
Mm.
a business very corporate and strategic.
Yeah.
So people love that side of it, and they can
Yeah.
relate.
Absolutely. And yeah, can you just tell us about more about the decision to let it go? What happened there?
Yeah, well, let me tell you that.
Yeah.
So I moved. So basically, I had the business for 9 years, really, and it was great. It just kept growing. I had a team. It was fantastic. But by that point, I had two children, and my husband had been offered a job in Spain. So the children were still quite young, and we thought, why not? What a great opportunity. And so off we went, sold everything up in the UK. I was very lucky that my business could still run with me remotely. But I found after the first year, I was really missing out on just expat life, meeting friends, settling the kids in because, I could have been anywhere, but I was still in my office every day doing this. And by that point, I'd taken the business as far as I felt I could go with it. And I always believe that deep down in your gut when it's time to change and time to do something new. And I didn't feel like my heart was in it anymore. And I also had a great team member, a lady who had worked with me from the very beginning, who was a lot earlier on in her career. And basically, I sold her the business. She took over the business. She still runs it to this day. It's been fantastic. It's made her living. And I couldn't have thought of a better person to give it to because obviously that's a big part of it as well. It's your baby you've grown. So, yeah, so that was my decision. It was a hard decision because I'd grown this thing from the ground up. But I trusted it was going to the right person. And it has, because now that was, gosh, 6, 7 years ago now. And it's still going, like I say. So fantastic.
Yeah, that's a beautiful story, like passing on the torch. Really, really love it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And so now let's get deeper in your current business. When did you set up this current business? Because I know it's pivoted and evolved a bit over the last year. So yeah, do you want to tell us that story?
Yeah, so it's really interesting. And this is, I guess, I hope it's an example to other ladies who are setting something up now and feel like they might be stuck and want to pivot, but are too scared to pivot. So let me explain. I went back and got my master's degree. I was going through perimenopause. I still am.
Mhm.
But I wanted to learn more about the mental health side, and I knew a lot of other people were struggling. So I specialized in that. And I spent the first year working in therapy and with ladies who were really at a stage of their life where they were like, I just don't know what's next. I feel like it's too late and all of this stuff. But a common thread that was coming up with every conversation was like, I want more. I still want more, but I don't know what to do and how to get it. And I was finding my business coaching skills coming back in to that. So I thought, why am I even pigeonholing myself in this just therapist role? And it took some courage. So I probably did that really pigeonholed myself for about 8 months. And I thought, do you know what? I'm just going to bite the bullet. I'm going to do both. I probably look crazy online,
Mhm.
but I don't care because
Yeah.
I know it's the right thing to do. And I know I
Mhm.
can add huge value by actually marketing this properly and
Mhm.
telling people that this is actually where my skill set lies. So I guess I've got a very rare offering now, which is,
Yeah.
psychologist and business coach for midlife women.
Yeah.
So because I think it's what I also noticed is that the coaches out there right now are very much, Gen Z. They are, and this is nothing against any of them, but it's very much bro marketing. You know, I'm making 50,000 overnight, and all the pressure that then puts upon us as midlife women, small business owners trying to grow, having unrealistic expectations because we're seeing a lot of this out there, and then just thinking, why is it not happening to me? But not also there's so much noise, not really knowing clear path to follow to get the success that you want, which usually at this time of life is not the £50,000 months. It's
Mhm.
the good income, but
Mhm.
also in line with that, I want to be able to go and see my child at university or help my sick mum or,
Mhm.
go and see a friend. So to have it all, but in a way that makes sense to us and not
Mhm.
overflows our buckets. Oh,
Yeah. It's great.
yeah.
And sorry, what were you going to say? Sort of, you
No,
can add.
that's really where I've ended up.
Yeah.
So I pivoted. I kind of remarketed my Instagram, changed my website a bit, and I've been doing that ever since. And it all
Yeah.
just makes sense.
And how's that gone since you've changed the focus and with the being specific with marketing? And something that I want to get onto is like, I think you're really clear. You're quite sort of niche about who your audience is and who you're talking to. And that comes across in your tone of voice. And you really use your personality and your wit and to really engage your ideal client. So yeah, can you talk us a bit through your sort of process and thinking about how you evolved that? And also, is there like a do you have a clear understanding of what's the deeper change that you want to create in the world as a result of your work?
Yeah, I think so. Okay, so when I first came back into the online world, so let's say, when I was like 45 after the degree and everything, I it was very hard to sort of navigate how to do it again. Like as I said, there's so much noise out there. So you're kind of blending in, trying to see what everybody else is doing, copying that a bit. And I was like, oh gosh, as I say, you feel things and say, like, this is not me.
Mhm.
Why am I doing this? And I think that's the nice thing that comes with age is confidence to own your authenticity,
Mhm.
be yourself. And I found that as soon as I became me, stopped hiding behind, the algorithm, I guess, that's when everything started having a great ripple effect of people coming in my DMs saying, I can really relate to that. Or, oh my
Mhm.
goodness, I wish somebody else would say this. So I suppose the word I would use for it is disruptive. So
Mm.
I am a little bit disruptive. And I think what's really important, and I talk to my clients about this as well, is you're not there to attract everybody to be your client. You
Mhm.
also want to repel the people that you
Yeah.
don't want to work with too.
Mhm.
So I am quite disruptive in the messaging, but also honest. And
Yeah.
I think really it's about talking to, and again, being a midlife woman. And I think most people who do start a business can very much use themselves as their ideal perfect fit client most of the times, whether that's now
Mm.
or 5 or 10 years ago. So you know better than most what they're looking for, what their desire is, what
Mm.
transformation they want. And so you've got that great insight to begin with. And so I always say, be the flamingo in the flock of pigeons. And I
Mm.
think I very much live by that too, because there is so much vanilla out there. Really own what you do, talk about your story, be disruptive, and you will find that just by naturally behaving that way, it takes a lot of stress off you.
Mhm.
And it also brings the right people into your world. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I live by.
That's a brilliant phrase. Did you make that up or did that come from someone else? I love it. To be a flamingo in the flock of
I
pigeons.
have no idea. Do you know what? I feel like I created a piece of artwork around that years ago, and it's probably stuck with me ever since.
Oh,
But
brilliant.
it's
um,
so true.
yeah. And do you find that is Instagram your main channel where you engage people and grow your audience and grow your business?
Yeah. So what was I going to say there? I think Instagram is, yes, but you know, you have to be really clear on where your clients are hanging out.
Mm.
And I've had a few conversations with clients this week who have said, I've got tens of thousands over on TikTok. And I said, well, do you really think that's where your clients are hanging out? Most of the time, it's not,
Mm.
99% of the time. So I've had to, and work with them as well, but you need to figure out where your ladies are. And actually, a lot of mine are on Instagram.
Mm.
I do think, though, that organic growth is very difficult now. We're not in the days anymore of gaining thousands of followers overnight. So it can be very difficult to constantly be speaking to the same people and not getting any traction. So I've had to work out other ways alongside using Instagram to grow that. And that's why I've really honed in on my business and helping other women who were just spending far too much time on, what do I post next? What do I do with very little rewards? So now I work with in my own business too, is having a whole business ecosystem
Mhm.
basically,
Mm.
where you have your free lead magnet and they can download that. And then it sort of leads people into your world. So you
Mhm.
start to use Instagram more as a face of your business, but you're not constantly always having to be on. And that
Mhm.
can become so stressful for people.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, LinkedIn might be the right one for you. But I've worked out that's where most of mine hang out.
Mm.
But I do think the fact this week I've actually started teaching myself meta ads as well, because I think
Okay.
organic reach and paid reach is, both of those married together are amazing. So,
Right.
so yeah, we could get into a whole discussion on that.
Let's just take a quick break from my chat with Lisa to tell you about the three main ways I can support you in sharing your story. If you want clarity on your personal brand, my mentoring sessions will help you uncover your story and really own it. If you're ready to build a consistent presence online, my 3-month program gives you a story led content plan along with the skills and confidence to create joyful, impactful content. And if you'd love to bring your story to life on film, I create soulful brand films that connect you with your dream clients. I'd love to collaborate with you, and of course, you can find all the details on my website, sarahorton.co.uk. And so, obviously, like you've got this very visual background where your previous business, More Than Words, is very visual, and you draw on those skills in your business and your storytelling now. And obviously, so key for Instagram, which is a very visual medium. where you're an absolute master of like the marrying the words and the visuals. And yes, I just wanted to get my point across here by sharing a little bit about one of your recent posts, which is a carousel that mixes photos of you as a young girl with a really punchy narrative. And it's several slides long. So I don't have time to go through it all now, but I just want to read out the first slide where you say, "We were the girls who memorized our home landline and got our points across before the payphone swallowed our last 20p. Now we're showing up as CEOs with hot flashes and relentless ambition because our why is already coded in grit and we have bullshit radar that could slice the Gen Z sales funnel in half." It's brilliant. And you've got, the story goes on and it's
Yeah.
so well done. And I just love it. And I just wanted you to sort of, it's kind of like, there's a real masterclass in storytelling and how to marry visuals and narratives.
Yeah, well, thank you. And I often just think, what are my ladies sitting at like 2 a.m. Googling or getting really pissed off about by looking at Instagram and these coaches and their sequins and we're like, we're done with the bullshit. And everybody can relate to that. That is my client. And so it's so key to talk to the people that are your perfect fit clients.
Yeah.
And there's nothing better than getting the feedback saying, oh my God, this relates so much, so yeah, thank you. That's great.
Brilliant. And yeah, so what you're doing is you're honing in on such specific details, which is like one of the key things in storytelling, doing storytelling well, right? To be really specific and visual and evoke, you're evoking nostalgia in your story here. And yeah, so can you just like talk us through how you go about, what's your process for going about creating these narratives and stories?
Yeah, so I always sit and think, what are the nuances that these ladies of mine are going through every single day? And every week I will sit and write a list of the top 5 things that they are literally Googling right now. What is really on, what desires do they want? And because I don't like to talk about the negatives, I don't like, you'll never really see a post of mine that says you're feeling stuck, you are, struggling, because we want to evoke the positive. The women that I work with they're ambitious, they want drive, they've tried everything.
Mhm.
So you really, really need to know that client. And so I've actually really worked on this process a lot. I've got a workbook that I sell as well, which is like
Yeah.
your perfect client clarity workbook. And once you know that, there are so many ways that you can then work on the story around what transformation that they want and those real keywords. What is the thing that is literally the one thing that they are waking up in the morning going, oh my God, this is driving me crazy. So I kind of go through that process every week. And that's where my storytelling starts. Because if they can see themselves inside the post that I'm creating, then your job's already half done. And I marry that as well with my unique process. And this is something that's also really important for every single person that owns a business, although, and it's highly underestimated, is finding your unique signature method, your offer. And again, mine is not the Gen Z thing. Mine is like, let's work like proper midlife women and we find a sort of buyer-led evolutionary model inside your business.
Mhm.
And to talk about those two things constantly kind of basically on repeat, although people don't really realize. So you can use them
Yes.
in different ways, but it also takes the pressure off you in terms of trying to come up with different ideas all the time.
Mhm.
Once you've got those two things hand in hand, then your messaging becomes a lot easier. It does half the job for you. And you can also carry that method through each of your different offers as well. So your buyers start to make the decisions rather than you constantly having to sell on repeat all the time on Instagram or whatever platform you're on. So, but yeah, storytelling has really made my business go from me constantly selling to filling up my one-to-one spaces on repeat just because it's talking to the right person. So,
That's
and it's not, it's not like your ideal avatar. We talk about all these things. It's like
Mhm.
really, really having that person, calling them a name. We always call them a name when I have a client. It's like
Yeah.
Susan, or whatever it is, and talking to them every single time you have a post out there and solving problems for them in those posts as well, if you can. So,
Brilliant.
oh, so many things we can talk about.
Yeah, yeah. And so, yeah, I just wanted to ask you, like, is it sort of like a conscious thing as well to be telling stories and narratives that sort of um, using your disruptor hat, which, disrupt the narratives we have around midlife? Is that a very conscious thing that you do?
Like 100%.
Mhm.
Because that's also my personality. I've never been one to sit back and let people tell me. And I think that's why I struggled a bit when I was a therapist, a little bit, because I was working with some ladies who quite enjoyed being wearing the menopause hat
Mm.
and thinking it is too late, and kind of enjoying the fact that I can just be lazy now and not do anything. But me as a person, I thought, I need to be around women who still want more, who still have that energy, who still have fuel left in their tank, and who get me, and who I really want to work with too. And so by being a bit disruptive like this and showing my personality, it makes sure that I have the right people coming into my world that I want to work with as well. And it's nice when you get to that stage. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a very conscious decision, and it comes naturally, and I find it works for me and keeps me happy in my business too.
Brilliant. And if you could tell a story about 5 years from now about the impact that your work has had, what would you love that story to be?
I would love my story. Well, I would love that ladies fully believe that this is just the beginning, that there is still plenty of time to leave the legacy that you want on your terms.
Mhm.
And I see it every day with ladies that I work with, and that they are just changing their lives by taking the brave step to go out alone and create their business. And it's the ones that stand the test of time and go through the messy middle, as I call it,
Mhm.
and get side and reap those rewards and have a legacy that they're building.
Mm.
And I think the fact that I'm helping and empowering them to do that and showing that it can be done through lessons I've learned, through pivoting,
Mhm.
through sharing my journey.
Mm.
That's something that I'm really proud of, that I've stuck with it. And don't get me wrong, I have hard days, and I share
Yeah.
those because I want to normalize the fact that it's not real life is not what you see most of the time on social media. It's
Yeah.
tough building a business, but when you have that right support behind you. And I want to say something as well. So what I do see is many midlife women who are going out alone and starting their business, and they get certificates, they use their experience, and they think, this is going to be great. Many of them don't have the business skills to do well in the business. So they have the great skills, the great experience, but you also need to marry that with knowing how to set up a business, knowing how to grow
Mm.
a business. And I think that's the part that I bring and help them with. And to, again, normalize the fact that just because it's not working doesn't mean you're not really good at the part that you do, but maybe you
Mhm.
just need a little bit of help
Mm.
to do that and really
Mm.
get momentum going. So
Mm. And I just want to ask you a bit about what you were saying about sharing the hard days, because that's something that I'm always kind of questioning myself on, because like you, I kind of like to share positive stuff and don't want to come at marketing from that sort of like pain point angle, or talking, um, sort of making people feel like they're doing things wrong or anything. And so I'm always trying to be positive and share in a positive way. But also then I'm worried about that they look like I'm just, presenting this glossy front. And it's really hard to know as a business, and
you know,
yeah, how to, when, what's right to share. And I know that's a personal thing and we all have to make our own choices on that. But I just wondered if you could share like a bit more your thinking about how and when and make those choices to share the harder stuff.
no, it's a really good question, and I think it's more important now than ever in a world of technology, in a world of AI, in a world that's becoming less and less humanized, to be human. And
Mm.
I think the sort of the mask is falling off so many things right now because we can't cover it up anymore because the world is crazy. And I think
Mm.
what's so important is showing that there is a person behind all of this.
Mhm.
Because I guarantee when you share those posts or those stories, those are the ones that people are watching. Those are the ones that people are responding to.
Mm.
And this isn't even from a business standpoint or
Mm.
an engagement standpoint. It's because people like to see themselves in someone else. And most
Mhm.
of the time when you're sharing those stories, there are so many people out there feeling the same and scared to do it
Yeah.
too. And I think, if you're constantly selling all the time and constantly putting on a happy face all the
Mm.
time, I think we know these days that that's not the reality.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but it takes courage, it takes confidence to do
Mhm.
that.
Mm.
And it is a personal decision.
Mhm.
And some people like to keep that stuff private. But I
Mhm.
suppose for me, the business coach, I think it's certainly important to share that, you know, building a business, growing a business is not a linear process. And there are days that everybody that I know that I've worked with as peers over the last 20 years have days where they sit and they just bawl their eyes out because they can't work out their meta ads,
Yeah,
so that they have to do it, but they're like, no,
yeah.
but it happens to everyone.
Mm.
So to answer your question, I think it's super important, and I talk about this a lot in all of my coaching, is to bring the human element back because it's just disappearing from everything right
Yeah,
now. You know, you
yeah.
read Instagram posts and they're written in AI, ChatGPT. So
Mm.
the more that you can differentiate yourself by bringing that into the
Mhm.
picture,
Mm.
the more people will warm to you. And that's what
Yeah,
it's all about, nurturing them in your world. So
yeah, yeah. Brilliant, thank you. And I know you shared in the quickfire round a story about one of your clients, but do you have any
mm,
other stories of transformation that you'd like to share? That because I think like obviously the sort of testimonial style stories are so important for so many businesses, aren't they? To share the difference that you're making to your clients' lives. So yeah, do you have one or two that you come back to and use in your marketing?
yeah, I mean, gosh, I'm lucky to have a lot because I have an eye that I can go into somebody's business and say, because I have a very much a process background as well. And I kind of look at their process and say, you know, this isn't working. Here's your gaps. Here's your blind spots.
Mhm.
Let's plug all these things in or take these things out
Mhm.
and get you more income, but also more freedom in terms of what you're doing.
Mhm.
So I've had a client recently who was actually a therapist and her one-to-ones were fully booked. So that was fantastic.
Mhm.
But she wanted to grow her income and she didn't know how to do that because she was at capacity
Mhm.
and didn't have time to do anything else. So what we did was we literally, you know, we've got her one-to-ones, but she had no other little offers that were going on in her business. She did her therapy one-to-ones online, but she had no small offers. It was actually children with anxiety, but she was working with the parents of those children.
Mhm.
But by coming out with some downloads, so she had a download, then she had a mini course that we put in place. And then she had a group program that we put in place that she ran with 5 or 6 parents at a time rather than the one-to-ones.
Mhm.
And she's now managed to reduce her one-to-ones by 50%. She only works 3 days a week now.
Wow,
And her income has gone up and continues
amazing.
to go up. And this is exactly why we do what we do, because it's now allowing her to do the things she loves.
Mhm.
She doesn't hate her business anymore. And she's so excited at the possibilities because she's seen that this side of running a business, creating a sort of engine that works behind the scenes, really works for her.
Mhm.
So, you know, that's just one of the many. I've had a teacher who's doing something similar. She was tutoring kids one-to-one. We did the same with, she's a math teacher, and we did the same in that sort of, you know, downloads and group programs and things. And again, she's working just 2 nights a week now, and the rest is all happening itself. So once you plug certain things into your business, it can become so much easier. And I just wish everybody knew that.
Yeah, brilliant. And so, you know how your story, your personal brand story for your very first business, you said played such a pivotal role in helping you grow the business. So, for somebody starting out now, if they feel they don't have a very strong or big story, what would your advice to them be?
I would say everybody has a story. And I know you probably don't think you do. It's like I always, you know, I work with clients, say everybody has a method. You know,
Mhm.
it's the things that you're doing every day. It's the challenges that you've overcome that maybe you don't even realize are challenges, are something that might help other people. But it's really looking back and thinking, you know, what has got me here? What have I
Mhm.
overcome? What have I had to change? And what can I use within that to fuel a story that will help other people? It could be anything. You know, we all have some, anybody who's not had challenges in life, I mean, kudos. But it doesn't have to relate to your business. It can
Yeah.
be anything. And we
Mhm.
can find a spin on that that's really got you to be the person you are. And like I said at the
Mhm.
beginning, you are the person behind your brand. I am the person behind my brand. I'm a solution finder. I take everything from lessons. And if you really sit and think about it, you can find something. But the more that you work in your business, the more that you gain experience, the more you gain the confidence to actually tell that story, to find
Mhm.
stories as you learn those lessons.
Mhm.
You know, your story's continually compounding to help others. And I
Mhm.
find that even now, it's like I say, the crying over my meta ads the other day, it's like that's going to help someone know that it's okay to cry
Yes.
over your
Yeah.
meta ad.
Uh,
Even if it's a daily story, you know, there's always something there to help.
mhm.
And it's all about that finding that way to relate with your clients and being
Yeah,
on the same level. So
brilliant. And if you could give one piece of advice to midlife founders about using their story to grow their business, what would that be?
it would just be authentic, again, be the flamingo in the flock of pigeons. Don't be scared what other people think about you. You are there to also repel the wrong people. And I don't really like using that word, but it's true,
Mhm.
because you want to be working with your perfect fit clients. And once you find your voice and you find the confidence behind that, it really can change your world. And it makes you feel like you are showing up truly as yourself. You've nothing to hide, and it carries through your whole business that way as well. So I would just say, be different, be you, don't be vanilla, be disruptive a little bit, and it will pay off. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Lisa, for sharing all
Oh, you're
your
welcome.
wonderful wisdom and your story. Do you want to share where people can find you and any last
Yeah,
comments you want to share about what you do?
of
People should get in
course.
touch.
Yeah, of course. So my website is thelisalong.com, and all of my different offerings are on there. I've got smaller programs, I've got free audios, I've got one-to-one coaching. And on Instagram, I'm Lisa Long _ MSC. So come and give me a follow over there and have a laugh at some of my posts.
Yes, definitely.
But don't give up. And I always say, there is a messy middle in every business. And if you can stick it out, be resilient, learn the lessons and make it to the other side, then you will reap the rewards. But, just keep going. It's worth it
Oh,
in the end.
brilliant. I think that message was me. I definitely feel I'm in the messy middle right now. But
Oh, yeah. Everyone is. And it's so normal.
yeah, brilliant. Thank you so much, Lisa.
You're welcome.
I love that conversation so much. What a career journey Lisa has been on. So many twists and turns, always evolving. So much enthusiasm for expanding her knowledge and the positive energy she puts into the world. It's just so inspiring. Okay, here are my 3 takeaways. Number 1, communicate your uniqueness through story. So Lisa talked about the importance of finding your unique signature method, because we all have this, our own unique way of doing things. And then you need to talk about it on repeat, but wrap it up in stories so you can keep communicating it in slightly different ways that will keep people engaged. Number 2, midlife is not the end, it's a new beginning. Don't pigeonhole yourself or feel boxed in by what you've done before. There's always space to pivot, evolve, and create something meaningful that aligns with who you are now. And don't be afraid to share the human journey behind the brand, the pivots, the challenges, and the messy middle. It's what helps you truly connect and resonate with your audience. Number 3, find the nuance in your stories. So, what are your clients' struggles? What are the questions they're Googling late at night? The frustrations that keep them stuck? Lean into those nuances and craft stories that speak directly to those. And remember, in a world of AI and polished feeds, your honesty and humanity are more valuable than ever. Thank you so much for joining us today. And if you enjoyed this conversation, please follow Uncover Your Story wherever you listen to podcasts, and share this episode with someone who might need a reminder that it's never too late to write the next chapter of their story. Until next time, uncover your story, own it, share it, and shine.